Welcome, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to Unlocking Capital for Sustainability 2024. We are just about to begin, so I'd like to invite you all to take your seats, turn your phones to silent mode, and get comfortable. As we're waiting for everyone to take their seats, we have a few housekeeping matters to highlight before we start off our event proper. We're going to start with something fun. If you don't mind, could you take your phones out and scan this QR code on the screen and let us know how you came to this event? This is so that we can collect the data for our carbon emissions accounting, which is part of eco-businesses' disclosure efforts and carbon neutrality pledge. So yes, we'd like to offset all your emissions coming over here. You'll also find more QR codes at the back of your delegate badge. You can scan the first two for our full program and event app, which offers more detailed information on our speakers and also allows you to connect with all the delegates here today. As this is a government building, guests have limited access to the different floors. If you have any issues getting around, please approach our ushers for guidance. We'll be staying mostly on this floor for most of the program and only be heading downstairs to level LG1 for our break. The accessible areas are on level G, level G1, and level G2. Finally, we'd be grateful if you could return your lanyards at the boxes located at the entrance before you leave today so that we can reuse them for future events. Distinguished guests, a very good morning to all of you, and thank you for joining us today for Unlocking Capital for Sustainability in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. My name is Karin Zabidi, the Country Director of Eco Business Malaysia, and it's my pleasure to be hosting you this morning. Unlocking Capital for Sustainability is Eco Business's flagship sustainable finance and business event hosted in partnership with UNEP-FI and a wide variety of partners across Asia. Now, in its 7th year, it's the region's premier event that brings together high-level decision makers in finance, business, government, and civic society to discuss and identify actionable initiatives that mobilize the capital markets for sustainable development. As the region's leading independent media and business intelligence company dedicated to sustainable development and ESG performance, I am pleased, on behalf of Eco Business, to be welcoming all of you today. Before we kick off today's proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge all of our partners, UNEP-FI for their partnership over the years and being the pioneering force catalyzing action across the financial system to align economies with sustainable development. Our strategic partners, Capital Markets Malaysia, who have generously provided us with this venue, CIMB, Siemens Energy and UOB Malaysia, our networking partners, PPB Group and ProForest, and to our knowledge and outreach partners. I'd also like to thank you, all of our guests and speakers who have joined us for this critical conversation. We'll be flashing QR codes and prompting interactive Q&As throughout the sessions, so there'll be plenty of room for you to engage with the discussions. You can find a Slido QR code at the back of your delegate badge to submit your thoughts or questions anytime. Let's make this as lively a conversation as possible so we can all come away with fresh ideas and renewed motivations. There will also be networking opportunities throughout the day at tea breaks, at lunch, and post-event. Because isn't this the best part? To be able to catch up with the inspiring people who are working on climate and environment and to get to know our new comrades as our community of practice grows. Our hashtag for the events are Unlocking Capital for Sustainability and hashtag UCFSMY. So if you're on social media, do tag EcoBusiness, UNEP-FI, and our partners. We're now excited to officially launch our forum with a video especially prepared for you. Please sit back and enjoy.
Leaders must lead. No more hesitancy, no more excuses, no more waiting for the others to move first. There is simply no more time for them.
I hope that clip got you fired up and now you feel sufficiently prepared to engage on some of the most pressing issues of our time. Without further ado, I'd like to invite our founder and managing director of Eco Business, Jessica Chiam, for her welcome remarks.
Thank you, Karun. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and partners, it is my honor to address you today at the Malaysian edition of Unlocking Capital for Sustainability. This is our annual flagship forum on sustainable finance and business for Asia Pacific, hosted in partnership with UNEP-FI, which brings together high-level decision makers to discuss and commit to actionable initiatives that mobilize the capital markets for sustainable development. This series of events is in its 7th edition. We kicked off in Indonesia last month, and today in Malaysia, we're really proud to be hosting our 3rd edition. We started our first one virtually in the throes of COVID. Anyone remember that? Long were the days where we could deliver an entire event from our bedrooms. But then last year, we hosted an event at Sofitel Hotel, a half-day event. And this year, the event has grown bigger and more ambitious, reflecting the momentum around sustainable development across the world. We are extremely grateful to be hosting it at this important venue at the Securities Commission with our strategic partner, Capital Markets Malaysia. I remember having a meeting with Navina and Farina as long as a year ago, discussing what we could do together to convene policy, business, and civil society to not just raise awareness of issues around disclosure, decarbonisation, ESG principles, and social equality, but also to spur and inspire action. We've onboarded many like-minded partners along the way, with CIMB, UOB, Siemens Energy, OCBC Bank, and many others joining us. I thank you all for your partnership. I'm sure many of you who are practitioners or in some way work on sustainable development would agree that there has been a plethora of sustainability-themed events in recent years, not just in Malaysia, but across the world. And it's heartening to see this growing momentum. 10 years ago, you hardly came across a sustainability event, and I think that this really is a reflection of the rise in awareness and advocacy. But the truth is, we are running out of time, and it is action that we need. So we are proud that our Unlocking Capital for Sustainability series of thought leadership events are differentiated from the rest in that we are laser-focused on precisely that, and that's action. We curate our discussions and activities with measurable, impactful outcomes in mind. As an independent news platform, we also focus a sharp journalistic lens on the issues that we debate. And the result is that through our regional forums, we spotlight the key mechanisms that will unlock capital for Asia's transition, outline the frameworks needed to make finance an effective tool for hard-to-abate sectors and real economy companies, and also to chart a path for accelerating an equitable net zero transition. To this end, we take a lot of effort and time to produce insights reports from our forums that helps to guide decision makers in policy and business well beyond the day of the forum. You can find our 2023 report on our website. You just have to Google it. Please do have a look because it distills a lot of information that's been talked about throughout the region and beyond into what we really have to do today. Through this platform, we also keep organizations and decision makers accountable to raise the level of discourse, to exchange best practices, so that we can truly take collective action to achieve the shared goals we have. Malaysia has long been a nation blessed with rich natural resources, diverse ecosystems, and a vibrant cultural heritage. Myself, my father came from Penang, so I have Malaysian roots. However, with these blessings also come great responsibilities. The momentum on climate action and sustainable development policies have gathered pace here in Malaysia in recent years, with new government-led directives and national roadmaps launched to accelerate the energy transition and spur investments into the country's burgeoning green economy. But many challenges remain, and as we've articulated in our opening video, the world is beset with 2 wars, high geopolitical tensions, a cost of living crisis, rising inequalities, and many large powers going through national elections and political transitions. There are simply too many competing priorities. Meanwhile, the climate crisis marches on. It is the single biggest silent force shaping our future as we speak, determining our food and water security, driving scarcity, conflict, displacement, and it intersects with every single economic, political, and social issue we face today. As UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres have said, we have entered an unprecedented era of global heating. We are hurtling towards a nearly 3 degrees rise in global temperatures, which according to the IPCC and scientists across the globe, will expose over 3.25 billion people to lethal levels of heat and humidity, something that I think all of us living in this region can attest to. There will be severe drought and water shortages, food production will be disrupted, 50% of marine life and a third of terrestrial life would go extinct, causing ecosystems to collapse. And there is a high risk of irreversible changes to our fragile natural ecosystems. The result are things like catastrophic sea level rise, displacement of millions of people, extreme weather events. I'm sure all of you have already heard of this in the headlines. As elected representatives of their people, governments around the world have been responding to this in varying degrees of efficacy. In Malaysia, the federal government is racing to table a climate change bill by 2025, but such legislation is tough, as we know, especially when short-term mindset still prevails. And pushing bold legislation that we need requires strong political will. The governments here, as in many countries, has to navigate the demands of different stakeholders. Amid concerns about rising cost of living, a weaker currency, Malaysian leaders are also under pressure to implement economic reforms. So how can officials respond to these competing demands and ensure that the nation's sustainable development agenda stays on track? Malaysian corporates are also grappling with myriad issues, from rising regulation and disclosures to financial performance and survival, governance, the disruption caused by AI, cybersecurity, human capital issues, and sustainability. It is sometimes hard to focus and to make progress. But I think it's imperative for companies to prioritize building capacity in your organizations and to upskill your workforce for a rapidly evolving landscape where standards are constantly being raised, scrutiny is increased, expectations are higher, resilience needs to be strengthened, but also to capitalize on the commercial opportunities that this transition presents. SMEs, the backbone of Malaysia's economy, are at the heart of this effort. And today, we hope to delve deeper into the role that public-private partnerships can play in addressing this capacity gap. I'm also quite a geek, so I'm really looking forward to diving really deep into the technical concepts and hearing from our distinguished speakers on the role of mandatory disclosures, managing and raising the quality of data, the wider energy transition, emerging carbon markets, the country's climate change bill from Minister Nick Nazmi himself later on as our distinguished guest of honor, and the role of corporate governance in driving Malaysia's sustainable development agenda. Throughout the day, we will be speaking on a wide range of policy mechanisms, case studies, and specific initiatives that we can all play a role in. And I'd like to urge everyone to approach these conversations with the spirit of participation and learning, so that we might be inspired and motivated by each other and come away with specific actions that we can take into our personal and professional lives. I also wanted to mention that after today, we'll be hosting Unlocking Capital for Sustainability in Philippines on 14th of August, our Singapore Summit on 12th of September, and then Thailand in October and China, Hong Kong towards the end of the year. So do join us in these regional conversations if you're in these countries. In each forum, we always blend and share the insights of one country to another so that we might truly have a regional, international conversation and also foster different meaningful ways to promote cooperation, which is so urgently needed in these times. We're also going to be launching the 2025 edition of our flagship sustainability innovation platform, the Livability Challenge. You might have seen a video of that earlier, in partnership with Temasek Foundation at the Singapore Summit. This initiative provides a $2.5 million grant to sustainability startups each year and will be in its 8th edition. Since its inception, it has deployed over $10 million in funding to more than 35 startups who have gone to raise hundreds of million dollars more while commercializing sustainability tech and innovations that have made measurable social and environmental impact. And I think this is really exciting because I think in this transition really, we're looking at many investment opportunities and really the largest economic transformation that we are seeing in this decade and this era. So we invite you to join us by being a partner or by encouraging the founders and innovators in the Malaysian economy to apply. I'd like to conclude by thanking all of you once again for your presence here and choosing to spend a day with us in this important conversation. I'm heartened that this is a growing community driven by a collective understanding that our future depends on the careful stewardship of our environment, economy, and social fabric. There is no planet B. We are not going to colonize the moon or Mars anytime soon. So like it or not, we're all in this together. And I look forward to further conversations, all of you, and to a day of forging meaningful partnerships. Thank you very much.